All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Mama Untold Thoughts. I'm not sure what episode we're at, but we are episode something, and I have an awesome guest with me today. Hi, Simi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So I have Simi with me. She is a mama out of Vancouver. She just started a podcast series called Mama's High on Shy. Amazing series. I will make sure that your handle is tagged in this video later on so that people know where to find you. So welcome, Simi. Thanks so much for agreeing to have this conversation with me.
It's my pleasure. It's been such a wonderful, journey trying to connect with other moms. And, when I started the podcast, and that's where I met you, and you were first one of the first mamas that I actually met online.
Yay.
And it's my pleasure to be here.
Oh, that's so sweet. I really love connecting with other moms, especially moms out of other cities too, because, sometimes it's different. Sometimes the ways that we navigate are different, and it's always nice to hear everyone's story. And that's, a big reason why I started to do this little chat series was, through my vlogs was to have different perspectives from moms from all different types of, backgrounds, right? So maybe what you can start off with is giving everyone a bit of a background about yourself.
Okay, well, my name's Simi. I go by Simi, and I'm the host of a new podcast called Mama's High on Shy. And this podcast is all about South Asian mothers. And basically, my goal is to create more diversity, reflect more diversity in the podcast, as well as inclusion and with with a touch of culture
Mm-hmm.
in it as well. And I want to talk about in this podcast. I want to talk about basically things that touch my heart, as well as a lot of the social issues that are still there, a lot of the taboos and the stigmas that are still there in our culture, that need to be talked about more often. And I feel that through this platform, through the podcast, a lot of the things that we can't really talk about in person, or maybe even on a video, sometimes we can just let our hearts out in when it's just the voice,
Yes.
right? And so I feel that it's a good platform for that, to really touch on some of the very sensitive subjects, as well as just really nice, fun, quirky stories and real moms. And and I'm really excited for like how this unfolds, and I have lots of ideas. And we'll see where it goes.
That's
I'm excited.
awesome. I'm really happy that you started this venture. I think it's not just for other moms, but I think like for me, from my experience when I started my blog initially, it was it was an outlet, right? It was an outlet for me to share what was on my mind, to get out my emotions, get out my feelings, so I wasn't bottling everything up. And then in the same token, it was awesome that I had an opportunity to actually start connecting with other moms. And I mean, the power of social media, right? Like, it's
Yeah,
amazing that we can connect and you're, on the other side of the country and I'm here in Ottawa.
yeah,
So
totally.
it's amazing, right? So you have two little ones.
Yeah, yeah.
How old are your little ones?
So I have two kids. They are 4 and 6. My younger one is so I have a son and a daughter. My son is 4 years old, and my daughter is 6 years old.
So,
And I was born in India, and I came to Canada when I was 15 years old. And so it was a bit of a culture shock for me. And as a coming to Canada, or just leaving your own home country at the age of 15, when you're still trying to find your own identity. And most 15, 16 years old, they still don't know who they are. So I feel that coming to a different country at that time was very difficult for me. And so I went through a phase of identity crisis at that point, and then another one. And so like I kind of like picked myself up from that. when I kind of grew out of it and started becoming more confident. But I felt like when I became a mother, I kind of went through another phase of identity crisis, and went through mental health issues and depression, and a lot of stress and anxiety. And because as they say, no one can ever prepare you for motherhood, and or even parenthood,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
fatherhood, right?
Yeah.
But and everyone deals with it really differently, right? Everyone is so unique in how they perceive things, and my whole life I always compared, right? Like, and I think that was when I became a mother, or just like around the time I was in college, that's when social media sort of came into light a lot more. And I would always compare myself with others, right? Also, and so like I think culturally that's kind of like that was just embedded in my mind, and that really shattered my confidence over time. And with motherhood, it was even more so, because there was social media was at its height,
Yeah.
and there were also not very many support groups like now they are. Like, yes, social media is still there now, but there's a lot more support, right? And more positivity around social media.
For sure, for sure. I actually want to kind of go back a little bit. I know, I like to focus on motherhood and parenthood, but I actually want to hear a little bit more about you immigrating to Canada. Like you said, you were 15, 16 at the time, so prime teenage years.
Yeah.
Figuring yourself out, who are you, are those key questions that keep popping up in my mind when I was 15, 16. And how did you, through all of that, how did you navigate school? How did you meet your husband? Like, I'd be so interested to hear
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So my husband I met like at a very like later stages in my life. Like I after I had finished college, and I was already a working professional. But going back to when I first immigrated through Canada, into Canada, it was quite difficult for me in the sense that I didn't see my father for 8 full years,
Wow.
right? So basically, I was 8 years old when my father left to Canada, and he moved here. He tried to get permanent residency and get us, but there was some immigration issues and things like that. So basically, my mother, my brother, and I were in India, and my mother raised us as a single mom,
Wow.
and she was working at the same time. So I remember like, so that was really hard for me, because I never had a really like a normal childhood. And I missed like that cohesive sort of a family environment, right? Because my mother would always be really exhausted to take care of just the both of us, so I always had more of a responsibility to take care of my brother. And like I remember going into um, like taking my brother to school, making sure like, so like just a lot of responsibility, taking care of like the household itself, like while we were waiting for our mom to come home, like on a day-to-day basis. So things like that. So like when I came to Canada, that was like, I still remember the first time that I saw my dad. And so emotionally that was like really like hard to sort of first of all like even rebuild that relationship with him, which never really like we weren't really able to even connect that in, because in the prime time we were so separated, right, when I was growing up. But how I managed through school was very difficult as well, because there was a lot of bullying at the time, not as much acceptance, right? For people that were different, right? And so I had this like very strong accent. I always used to hesitate speaking in English when I was in India. I could read, write, and understand really well because we went to good schools. And but in conversation, we would always talk. Like I would always talk to my friends and my family in Hindi or Punjabi. And so when I came here, like I tried really hard to speak, or like get better at speaking. But obviously there was that transition phase, right? Phase. And so yeah, I remember like getting being bullied a lot for my accent or for not being able to express myself in the way that I wanted to, right? And so I want, like at that time, all I wanted to do was just fit in, and I didn't want an accent. I wanted to just get rid of it. And overall, it was tough, but it was also, it kind of left a big scar in
Mm,
my heart, like for a very, very, very long time, to the point where I was never comfortable saying to anybody that I was an immigrant, that I
mm,
am an immigrant. But now that I've found myself more and more, I'm so proud that I am that person. I am an immigrant. This is who I am. This is my life story,
yeah,
and I'm gonna own it.
yeah, absolutely. Um, these are just such heartwarming stories. I appreciate so much, and I know you were separated from your father, and it's hard because you want that father figure around, right? You want to be able to connect with them, and but it's that end goal is, I guess, for our parents was, what can we do to give them a better life, right? At the end of it.
Right.
So sorry, I just heard my my baby just woke up, but it's okay. Hubby's taking care of it. So I guess on that note, how has that experience in your life, impacted motherhood for you? Like, what sort of decisions have you made maybe differently, given the experience you've gone through?
Um, that's a good question. Sorry.
Okay.
um, how has it impacted, like the I always felt that, the experiences that I went through, I know for sure, like this is kind of the next generation who's going to be born here, sort of, is going to be brought up in this culture. They'll still have a t- you know the cultural roots, right? But they wouldn't have to go through all the things that I did as a as a child.
Yeah.
And I always hoped for a very kind of I looked for normalcy in my own family environment. So if I didn't come from a very healthy environment, then I want to create that for my children. I think that all parents do that. They always want to give their children things that are experiences that they never had as when they were little,
Yeah.
right? So all I really wanted for my children was for them to have their mom and dad close to them, right?
Mm,
As much as, you know, I'm able to,
yes.
right? Or my husband and I are able to, and just let them know that we love them so much. Like give them a lot of love and care, and just the goal is that they should know that they are being loved,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely.
And I think everything else just unfolds, and for them to be good human beings
Mhm.
and do everything with the purest intentions, right? And yeah, I don't know.
No, that's perfect. And it's I've been using that a lot lately too, is whatever you do, make sure you do it with the purest of intentions, because motherhood is, it's hard. It is so hard, and there's so
Yeah.
many ups and downs, and I know we tend to bring a lot of baggage from our respective, like I have experiences that I went through, and my husband equally has the same, and we're trying to just mold it all together and make sure
Right.
that we're raising genuine kids, genuine little human
Right.
beings, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So thank you so much for sharing that. It always, like I said, it always blows my mind how much of an impact, right, our experiences have as we move forward in life, and
Right.
especially like when it comes to parenthood. So you are a working mom as well. You work
Yeah.
full time.
Yeah.
How is
Yeah.
all of that with motherhood?
It's, well, right. Are you talking about right now or like pre-COVID?
let's do twofold. Let's do pre-COVID and then let's do present times.
Yeah. Well, pre-COVID, it was like we were just like a well-oiled machine. We had everything sort of set in place. They have daycares and before and after school that they go to. So, everyone kind of had their routine set, right? My husband and I both work full time, and we would drop them off to school, and I would work full time, and then in the evenings we'd take them to activities, and one person would like stay home and pack lunches or cook dinner or whatever. But and then on weekends we would just spend a whole lot of family time together, or we'll have some games and soccer game activities, things like that. So it was really like really busy with that. Having a routine was amazing. But now it's like the shift of our routines is like it's kind of like mishmashed, because I'm working from home, and then my husband still has to work, so he goes, and then I'm the only one caring for the children, and I have to be in meetings and work and concentrate on that. So in the beginning, I was just basically going with the flow. I'm like, okay, I'll work when I can, and then I'll just, kind of manage the kids on the side, because it was so new, right?
Yeah.
And then slowly I started to realize, okay, I'm getting burnt out, and it's not good to have that stress that, okay, when I'm with the kids, I'm stressed about not being at work, and stressed about like not being productive enough. And when I'm at work, then the kids are neglected, or there's like too much screen time or whatever. So I started to make a schedule.
Okay.
I sat down with the kids, and I'm like, okay, guys, what are some of the things that you can do on your own, and let's brainstorm some activities, because mommy does need to work. And then I'm working on a split schedule, where I start like really early in the morning before they even wake up, and I'll get a couple hours of work already done, right? And then I'll, without any guilt or anything like that, like I'll work on a 2-hour block, and then I'll spend time with the kids for a couple of hours, and then I'll come back and work for a couple of hours. So we have kind of like a system sort of figured out, and it's still kind of like streamlining as we go along, right? So we're still figuring some things out, but we're gonna have to manage.
I know, I hear you. It's definitely a disturbance in schedules and routines and whatnot. Right. I haven't really. I mean, we have. I think organically a schedule just kind of happened. We kind of just figured it out as the days went on, and we kind of stick to that same sort of routine every day. It's been working, but the hard part here is that I have a 3.5-year-old, and then I have a 5-month-old who, I can't just give them screen time, because it doesn't last very long. And my husband's working, but I'm still on mat leave. So I think like with anyone, there's just been so many adjustments and trying to navigate this new normal-ish life, right? So you mentioned your husband still has to leave the house to go to work. Wow. Yeah, that's hard. Sorry, go ahead.
He is working half days, but we also have a small business that we run. So he gets busy with that or whatever, but he'll try and come home by 1 o'clock or so I can, in the afternoon at least, I can focus in on my work.
Okay.
But the half day work is better than having to work the full day, right?
For sure. And I think that's been key, is just trying to make sure that everyone's schedules align and finding that right balance.
Right.
So, and who knows for how much longer, but at least we're trying our best, right? We're doing the best that we can. So
I was starting to think of launching a podcast. I'm like, so what kind of, it's like just things that touches my, my like things that are close to me and things that I've researched before. Cause I really did, like I went through a severe like PMS like I had severe PMS symptoms after childbirth.
Yeah.
And it was my I guess my pitta, you can call it, which is like your heat, your fire, right? Like it was so imbalanced that I would just get so irritated and I hated it. So because PMS is not something that doctors really treat or anything, it's just sort of there, right?
Yeah.
And so I started looking for alternative options, and that's how I sort of found her. And I was really surprised to see she's such a young girl, and she much knowledge and wisdom, and she's South Asian, she's Canadian, so it really like intrigued me how she identifies herself as this, Canadian born but Sikh South Asian woman, and someone who's, close to her culture, and also is the way she sees the world through Ayurveda, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. Like I said, it was a very interesting episode. Maybe you could share with us what's to come. What's to come on Mama's High on Chai?
Okay, so quite honestly, I'm still thinking about my next podcast because I have I have no idea. I have a few things that I want to talk about. They are very sensitive topics.
Yeah.
But I'm not too sure if I'm ready for it. Ready to talk about it, right?
Okay.
Going, I have a couple of I'm talking to a couple of people, couple of women who are possibly going to come on. So one is a coach and a fitness trainer in Toronto. She's from Toronto, and so she actually works with women pre and post childbirth. And she really believes in pelvic care, and there's a lot of pelvic issues that women go through during pregnancy as well as after childbirth. So basically strengthening those areas, which exercises to do, and all those things. So that is also considered, we never talk about it. We never talk about leaks or, who's that after childbirth, right? And or strengthening your abdomen or any muscles or whatever. So I'm excited to have her on my show as well. And then the other woman that I am talking to currently is she is from the lesbian gay community, right? She is South Asian, and she is married to her partner and has is also a mother. She has a daughter, right?
Wow.
So yeah, so I want to really find out more about her and what her background is, like how how her upbringing was, how motherhood is, for her, and because like I said before, I like the podcast to reflect a lot of diversity. At the same time, I want to be able to break those stigmas, right? Like, include everybody. It's not just, when we think of mothers, or I don't know, it's not like we have this normal image of what a family should look like, right? And we need to step away from that and think broader.
Yeah, I think it's definitely right. I think it's more so that we live now in a time that families look different, right? It's
right.
It's about broadening that perspective and that ideology about this, perfect family, right? There's any family is perfect regardless of how you identify, right? So I'm looking forward to that. I can't wait to hear that episode. Because I think it's time, like you said, I think it's time that we start breaking down a lot of these misconceptions, these barriers. We're living in different times now, and I think with our various platforms, and there's a lot out there, but I think it's so important that we're all doing our own little piece, and saying that same message, right? We're sending that same message, that we need to start changing the narrative about certain things. So that's definitely key. So thanks for sharing that.
Well, they're not set in stone yet, but these are kind of the thoughts, and then the other thing is mental health in women, not just in women, but like I found just in IG community, I came across this another dad who talks about mental health and the South Asian diaspora, and so there's not very many men that talk about. There's not very many dads that talk about, especially from the South Asian community. So I think I want to hear more stories, people talking about these things, and then at the same time I would like to also talk to my friends and have like just a casual conversation on my podcast and just sort of let loose, and some is going to be informative and educational, and then sometimes it's just going to be just be ourselves and just talk our hearts out.
That's what I feel like today was about. I feel like we talked a little bit about everything, and at the same time, let out a little bit about how we're feeling. So thank you so much for joining my vlog today. This conversation, I say every conversation I have is so insightful and so meaningful, and value so much from what my guests have to say, because like I always put it that everyone has a story to tell and a story to share, and it's so important that we sit down and we listen to one another, because we don't know what the others are going through and what they're experiencing in their lives. So I appreciate it so much, Simi. Thank you so much for doing this, and I will make sure to tag Mama's High on Chai, your socials, and thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me on your vlog and your show, and amazing thing that you're doing. I'm still at awe by how well you sort of are, how well you're taking this journey, this phase in your life, where your little one is still, still young, still 5 months old, right?
Yeah.
And then, when I remember when I was at that age, I was a complete mess.
I honestly, I'm a mess internally. I'm a mess. But no, I appreciate it. Thank you. I took the time to shower and wash my hair and put on some makeup, because sometimes it just feels good, right? It feels good to get out of that. I've been in PJs for probably the past 5-6 days. And enough is enough. I'm putting on real person clothes, and I'm making sure my team still fit, because we've been baking a lot and eating a lot here. So but thank you so much for your sweet words.
You're welcome. I wish you all the best in your journey, in your blog and your vlog, and anything that and the Lotus movement that you started. Well, thank you so much for doing that. That is so awesome.
Yes, it's definitely something that's been on my mind for a while, and it's very close to my heart, especially experiencing anxiety post kids. And I know there's a lot of men, women, from all different age groups in our community who are suffering in silence, and I think it was just time to start that conversation. So and I hope it does, and I hope it goes somewhere, and for the betterment of the community, period. So
right. That's an amazing thing that you're doing. I'm so proud of you, and good luck with that. Wish you all the best.
You're so sweet. All right, we will connect again soon. Until then, thanks for joining us, and we'll see you again soon.
See ya. Bye.
Okay, bye.